Okay, so if you are learning how to computer program, it is useful to think of a computer as a machine that stores and retrieves and manipulates information. So you can pretend a computer is a box that has compartments. And you can put information in one of the compartments, and you can give the information a label or a name, so that when you want to use it later, you can look it up. So in this case, I'm storing the number 5, and I'm going to give it the label age. So computer programming languages are essentially just a set of rules that the computer uses to allow you to tell it what to do. So I am going to make up a language, and this language will look very similar to Java or C#. And in our language, there are keywords or key symbols. Sometimes they're words, sometimes they're symbols that the computer understands. And the first word we're going to learn is int. And int stands for integer. And an integer is just a whole number. So 0, 10, 1, 100, 5. It can be a negative number, -10, -5, -1000. These are all whole numbers, they're all integers. But you can't use like 1.5 or 0.2. These are not integers. So the word int in our language is a keyword that the computer understands to know that you are going to create a variable and you're going to store a whole number. So when the computer sees this word, it will look in its list of keywords and it says, okay, I know what int means. It means I want to create a variable. And after it sees the word int, it expects you to give your variable a name. And it expects the name to be one word. And then after you give your variable the name, it expects to see an equal sign. And the equal sign is another keyword or key symbol. And the equal sign tells the computer that whatever is on the right-hand side of the equal sign, to stick it into the value on the left-hand side. So in this case, we want our value to be 5. And then the last thing our computer language expects is to see a semicolon at the end. And a semicolon just tells the computer that we are done with this line of code. So computer, like I said, stores and retrieves information. And variables are the way we store and retrieve information in our code. But just in regular life, we create files. And a file has a name, which is kind of like the variable name, and you can type stuff in a file. Normally, we use, you can write a story and save it as a file, but in here we're going to write computer programming code. And what we do is we save our code in this file, and our computer will open up the file when we tell it to run the code, and it will look and read each thing we type in, and it reads it all the way down the line, and then it goes to the next line. And so when our computer is executing our code, the first thing it looks at is it says, okay, here is the word int, and it looks up our keywords and it knows what an int is. And so it says, okay, I'm going to create a variable. I'm going to call it age. I'm going to store the value 5. And then it'll read our next line of code and it'll say, okay, now I'm going to create a variable called year. And I'm going to store the value 2014. And then our program is done because there's no more code left in our file, and then our program is done. So we can just add more variables in our program.